All right. This is my week 2 assignment. I did a presentation for this week, so I'll go ahead and start that. So here's just a little recap of Alexander Hamilton's report relative to a provision for the support of public credit. So, in this report, Alexander Hamilton, as the first Secretary of the Treasury, outlines his plans for managing and improving the financial stability of the United States. And his primary focus within this that I saw was to address the nation's public debt, and that had accumulated during the Revolutionary War, and Hamilton proposed that the federal government assumes the war debts of the states and consolidate them into a national debt. He argued that this would help rebuild the country's credit worthiness and ensure the stability of the nation's financial system. Hamilton also recommended that the creation of the National Bank to manage these finances, facilitate the issuance of currency, and promote economic growth. He emphasizes that establishing a strong public credit would instill confidence in both domestic and foreign investors, thereby attracting capital needed for the country's development. Additionally, Hamilton addressed the importance of paying off the debt systemically and with interest to ensure long-term financial credibility. So this report was instrumental in shaping early American economic policy and laid the foundation for the establishment of the nation's financial system, contributing to the rise of a robust federal government. So here's a quote from Hamilton's report that I feel that supports the summary. If the maintenance of public credit then be truly so important, the next inquiry which suggests itself is, by what means is it to be affected? The ready answer to which question is by good faith, by a punctual performance of contracts. States, like individuals who observe their engagements, are respected and trusted, while the reverse is the fate of those who pursue an opposite conduct. So this quote highlights Hamilton's central argument that maintaining public credit requires the government to honor its debts and obligations, which is key to rebuilding financial credibility and ensuring the nation's prosperity. So I also wanted to do a little bit of a recap for in rules for changing a republic into a monarchy. Philip Freneau, a prominent poet and political figure of the 18th century, who presents like almost a satirical commentary on the dangers of centralizing power and undermining democratic institutions. The poem kind of humorously almost outlines the steps that would be necessary to transform the United States from a republic into a monarchy, and these rules kind of include gradually increasing the power of a single leader, such as a president. Then the republic can shift towards a monarchical rule, and it's highlighted the importance of diminishing faith in republican ideals, presenting them as ineffective or chaotic. The poem suggests that through propaganda and emotional appeal, the people can be swayed to support authoritarian rule, and then eroding the balance of other branches of government like the legislative and the judicial branch. It would make it easier for a single ruler to control the government. It's pointed out that gaining control over the army and using it to suppress opposition would be a crucial step in transitioning to a monarchy. This poem is a warning about the potential tyranny in a republic and serves as a critique for any efforts to undermine democratic governance in favor of concentrated power. he emphasizes the need of vigilance and protecting Republican values, which is kind of ironic as we're looking at time now. So here's another quote that I feel supports the summary. For this purpose, it will be particularly used to confound a mobbish democracy with a representative republic, that by exhibiting all the turbulent examples and enormities of the former and odium may be thrown on the character of the latter. So this supports the idea of using propaganda to discredit democracy and prepare the public for a shift toward a more authoritarian system. As mentioned in the bullet points, it kind of manipulates public opinion and undermining Republican ideals. So, in the 1790s, the U.S. faced a financial crisis due to heavy national debt, prompting a fierce debate between the Federalists and Democratic Republicans on how to address it. Federalists, led by Alexander Hamilton, advocated for a strong central government, national debt assumption, a national bank, and support for manufacturing and trade to stabilize the economy. They believed in a strong financial system to promote national unity and growth. In contrast, Democratic Republicans led by Thomas Jefferson and James Madison supported a limited federal government, opposed debt assumptions, and were wary of centralized power. They favored an agrarian economy and a strict interpretation of the Constitution, opposing the national bank. These competing visions shaped early American political and economic policies, ultimately leading to the creation of the first political parties. So the economic plans of the Federalists and Democratic Republicans were closely tied to their social attitudes about who should benefit from the nation's economic system. Federalists, particularly Hamilton, believed that a strong centralized financial system, including a national bank and support for commerce and industry, would benefit the nation's wealthy elite, such as merchants, bankers, and manufacturers, who could drive economic growth. Their plan favored those already in power, especially in urban areas, reinforcing a class structure that centered on business and industry. So on the other hand, the Democratic Republicans, led by Jefferson and Madison, argued for an agrarian economy and limited government, believing that the ideal citizen was an independent farmer. Their vision was grounded in the belief that a decentralized government and economy would empower rural land-owning citizens and preserve individual liberty. They were wary of urban centralized power and saw that the wealthy elite as a threat to democratic value, which is something I agree with. But that's besides the point. Under the vision, prosperity was meant to be accessible to small farmers and artisans, but not to the same urban-based elite that would benefit from Federalist policies. Essentially, the Federalist policies were more likely to help the wealthy, and while Democratic Republicans sought to benefit rural farmers and protect them from centralization and so on. So going back on how we are affected today, the economic financial structure established by the First Congress continues to influence the U.S. today in several different ways. So first, national debt, obviously. The precedent of government borrowing to manage debt has persisted, with the U.S. carrying a significant national debt today. And then federal versus state power. The centralization of financial power in the federal government, especially through the establishment of the National Bank, laid the foundation for ongoing debates about states' rights versus federal authority. And then we've got the banking system, which is still something we're affected by today. The creation of the National Bank has set the stage for the modern U.S. banking system, with the Federal Reserve playing a central role in the economy today. And then the use of taxes to fund government operations, as well as the controversial issue of tariffs, ironic, remains a central component of U.S. economic policy. And then the economic structure benefited wealthy elites and created a financial system that often left poorer classes at a disadvantage, and a trend that continues to some extent today in wealth inequality. And these are just early economic decisions shaped the political and economic landscape of the U.S., leaving a legacy that has still affected policy and society today. So, in conclusion, the economic and financial framework established by the First Congress set critical precedents that continue to shape the United States today. Especially in terms of national debt, central banking, and federal power. While it helped stabilize the young nation, it also created enduring inequalities, favoring wealthy elites and centralizing financial control. These early decisions still influence debates around government spending, taxation, and economic policy in the modern era. And here are some citations. Thanks for watching.